Mr. Andrew, I'll begin with you, sir. Well, it came as a shocker, rather, in the first place that Trump wanted to have these reciprocal tariffs. But why not? That was the part of his manifesto. That was the part of that big gig we call Make America Great Again. Now, the way he has in fact taken back these tariffs for 90 days is also indicative of the fact that a lot of Republicans within his party were upset. The market lost close to $19 trillion in just those 2 weeks. Do you think this 90-day pause is enough for people to forget and Donald Trump to not bring up the reciprocal tariffs again? And also, how do you think China is going to continue with this impossible situation?
Well, first of all, you've got to understand what tariffs mean for President Trump. He thinks tariffs is a beautiful weapon to make America great again, and trying to bring jobs back to the United States, and trying to reduce the two deficits, at least the trade deficit, by lumping tariffs on all Americans' trade partners, regardless of whether they are Americans' friends or allies or not. And he believes that is achieving the purpose for quite a number of countries. Of course, some of the very poor countries, for example, like Madagascar, which only sells vanilla and a number of agricultural products to the United States, they're in no position to negotiate. But then it calls into question the legitimacy of this tariff, a big stake. In fact, by imposing tariffs regardless on all countries, and by putting all countries into the position of a supplicant rather than a negotiator, because that's why President Trump said, well, all these countries are lining up to kiss my ass, he said. I mean, and he thinks that tariffs would reduce all his trade partners into supplicants, and they're begging for mercy. But obviously, China is being the world's second largest economy, having gone through so 100 years of humiliation, are not going to have this. And of course, China has a number of cards up, very strong cards up his sleeve. Firstly, China's dependence on the American market has declined. It was in 2018, it was as a proportion of China's export markets. In 2018, American accounting for something like 19%. Now it's down to something like 14 to 15%. And of course, China is now selling much more to it down. So that's point number one. Point number two, the United States is more reliant on China, particularly all sorts of consumer products. If you go to the supermarket in the United States, almost everything is made in China.